there's nothing in the whole world that I want more, that I've ever wanted, than to fish. It goes back a long time. I remember catching my first fish when I was about 5 years old. My dad took me down to this little know-nothing creek, and I don't even remember what we were using or what I caught it on, but on my Snoopy pole, I caught a 2-foot gar. I don't even know what kind of gar it was looking back, but it was some sort of gar, and he brought it up. It was about a 15-foot drop down to the water. He brought it up, and we got to look at that fish, and I just remember thinking, wow, that is the coolest thing. And something happened, and it just stuck. I remember going out to my grandparents' farm in Oklahoma, and they had 100 acres, and we would go explore all the time, and for whatever reason I just was drawn to these 3 ponds that they had on the property. Not a single one of them had a fish in it. They were just mud holes. They literally were just cow pools where cows would get in and cool off, but I would go and I'd find a stick, and I'd find some string and a cork, and I would make a hook out of a nail, and I would find a worm or a grasshopper or something, and I would take it out there, and I would just throw it in. And there's no way in the whole world I was going to catch anything, but that didn't matter. I was fishing. There's just something special about it that's never left me, and it brings me to where I am today. 2020 is going to be a really, really big year for me. I've got a lot of really big plans, and sort of the build up to 2020 has been the last few years where I've really dug into tournament bass fishing with my best friend Kevin Bryant, and we spent the last 3 years really honing in on some skills, learning how to compete, learning how to be humble in victory and gracious in defeat, and we've done really well, and sometimes we've done really, really poorly, but at the end of the day we've learned a lot of lessons and a lot of things that sort of drive me to want more than just local tournaments. So this morning I was looking at myself in the mirror, and I asked myself, is your why big enough? I can definitively say that it is big enough. I'm the master when it comes to starting projects and not finishing them. And if you walk through my house, you would see that that's true. And part of my goals for 2020 is to finish a lot of the projects that I have around the house. This year my goal is to finish the race. And I'm not just talking about each individual race, all 25 races I'm going to do this year, but the bigger picture of accomplishing my goals, of setting myself up to be able to go fish the opens, of setting my family up to be able to travel with me so that they don't have to be without daddy for 200 days a year. There's so many things that I want to do this year, and I'm excited to get it kicked off today. Can't even begin to say how grateful I am for all of my support from my family, from my friends, from fishing sponsors, because they see the bigger picture. Part of what I'm doing to help me is every race that I run, I'm going to wear something that reminds me of my why. It can be something that my kiddos gave me, it can be something fishing related, it can be anything that reminds me why I'm doing this. I know there's going to be times that I need to remember my why. Today, I'm going to be wearing my 6 Sense hat. This is one of my favorite hats. 6 Sense has put a lot of fish in my boat over the years. In 6 months I might pick up this hat and see that sweat line on the inside of the hat and remember my why. May come at a time where I need that. But either way, I'm excited to get going. Looking forward to the finish line. Good morning. I am at the 2020 Lifetime Commitment Day 5K. Really excited to get started. We got a pretty good crowd here today. Actually had a little bit of trouble finding out where we were supposed to be going. It's here. I found it, Reverson Park. Really excited to get kicked off. Not even really sure where I'm supposed to be starting, but we're gonna find out here in a few minutes. We're gonna kick off at 10 o'clock, get this one done. Go. The desire, the passion, the drive for tournament bass fishing has really ramped up in the last 3 years, and to the point where I'm ready to go and fish the opens. Not too long ago, about 3 years ago or so, I met an ex-Elite Series angler at an expo that he was doing. And I was really excited to meet him. He was one of my favorite anglers, still is. And I was just really excited to get to shake his hand, and walked up to him and we were having a good conversation. And I said, hey man, you know what? One of these days I'm going to be where you're at. I can't wait to be competing against you on the Elite Series. And he looked at me, and I had my family with me. I had 3 boys with me at the time, and my wife who was pregnant. And he got real quiet, and he was sad. And I kind of asked him, I said, what's going on? He said, man, you shouldn't do it. I thought, wow, okay. I said, why is that? He said, you've got way too much responsibility with these boys. And I looked at my boys, and I looked at him, and I could see that he had missed out on so much of his kids' lives growing up because he was out on the water 250, 300 days a year. He said he was at this particular expo, and then he was going to be moving on to another expo, and then he had the classic, and then right after the classic he had to fly somewhere else to go do another expo, and then he'd finally get to go home and be like 2.5 months before he even got to see his family. And in that very moment I said, I will never ever do this like you did, in my head. I didn't say that to him, but I made a commitment to myself and to my family that I was not going to be that sort of Elite Series fisherman. That nothing against him, or I don't know what's going on or what brought him to that point, but I just refuse, and I refused in that moment to abandon my family to chase my dreams. I won't do it. And so many guys on the tour are gone for so many days out of the year, and that doesn't leave any time for their families, any time for their wives, their kids. And he was right. I have a lot of responsibility with my boys, and I'm not willing to sacrifice that. So I decided in that moment that I was going to do things differently. And part of what that meant is that I was not going to be gone for 250, 300 days a year, that I wasn't going to leave my family at home and go chase my passion and my dreams and leave them in the dust. I wasn't going to do it. And so we had to do it different. So for 2020, I'm going to run 25 races. That's 2 per month plus 1. And most of those are going to be 5Ks for the first half of the year, and then we'll slowly build up, and I might even do some half marathons. How many times have you heard somebody say, I'm going to do this, I'm going to give it all I have, and then a month, a week, however long it is later, they decide, I can't do it, I've given up. And if I'm honest with myself, I've been there a lot of times. I actually have been in really good shape for somebody my size, and I've been really big and everywhere in between, and it seems like I just can't commit to being healthy, and so I'm as guilty as anybody. The reason that I didn't stay fit, the reason that I didn't continue to have success wasn't because I wasn't capable, it wasn't because I didn't know how to do it, it was because I didn't have a big enough why. My why is so much bigger than just going and fishing for bass. It's even bigger than winning tournaments and trophies and big paychecks and sponsor deals and all these other things. It's more than being famous. It's so much more than that. It's chasing my passion, whether it's here in the Dallas area, whether it's out on the road touring. It's doing what I love and being as successful as I can, not just at fishing, but also in my home life, with my family, with my boys. I want them to grow up with a dad who loves them, who wants to be around them, who cares about them, who can show up to games, and it has to look different. So what I'm doing with this whole video series is trying to maybe inspire another generation coming up behind to not just do it the same way because it's been done that way, but to think outside the box, be creative, but even more than that, find your why. Why do you want to do this? And what are you willing to sacrifice? I hope, if nothing else, that when I look back on this video, I'm able to say with confidence and excitement and joy that I accomplished my goal. Even if I don't make it to the Elite Series, Lord willing, I'll make it to the Elite Series and I'll get to compete against the very best in the whole world. But at the end of it all, I want to look back and I want to say I did this well. I didn't sacrifice my family. I loved my boys. I loved my wife through this. I took care of them and came out the other side. Chapter 1 is the last 3 years of learning how to fish tournaments, how to hone in on my skills, how to become better at my craft. But now it's time for chapter 2. The road is long, and just because I can't see the end doesn't mean I'm not going to take the next step. I'm ready.